This story is about Vidura. Vidura is the uncle of the Kauravas and the Pandavas, which means he was the brother of King Dhritarashtra and Pandu. The name Vidura means highly skilled, intelligent, or wise. He is one of the central characters in the Mahabharata and the most respected advisor of the Pandavas. He had forewarned, that is, he had warned his elder brother Dhritarashtra of the implications, that is, the result of the game of dice. He requested King Dhritarashtra, "O great king, I forewarn you of the implications of the game of dice. I request you to discourage Duryodhana from inviting the Pandavas over to the game." At this, Dhritarashtra tried to explain to Duryodhana not to play the game of dice with the Pandavas, but then he could not convince him on this advice, and the entire Kuru clan had to pay the price. Let us now learn more about this great grand advisor Vidura. A long time ago, there was an ascetic or a rishi or a sage. He was named Mandavya. He lived a very pious and religious life. One day, while he had undertaken a vow of silence, or when he was in the Mahabharata, a gang of thieves who had stolen some valuables and were being chased by the king's men entered the hermitage, dropped their spoils nearby, and hid themselves. The guards of the king who came in knew for sure that the thief or thieves were nearby, but they could not find anybody other than Rishi Mandavya. They then asked the Rishi, "O great one, did you happen to see any robbers come by?" Rishi Mandavya did not answer as he was in the Mahabharata. The guards by then had discovered the booty nearby, and assuming that this Rishi too belonged to the gang of robbers, arrested him and took him to the king. The thieves were also caught. The king ordered them to be executed by being pierced over by a sharp-edged long pole called the shula. The executioners carried out the order and impaled the sage, but Rishi Mandavya did not die. He suffered terribly, but then, because of his great yogic power, he survived and also called other great sages to him. The other great sages thus summoned became very sad, but the great Rishi Mandavya did not blame anybody other than himself for this suffering. The officers, on finding Mandavya to be alive, informed the king. The king then hurriedly came running to the spot and asked to be pardoned by falling at the feet of the Rishi. Finding Rishi Mandavya to be free of any anger, he brought himself down and attempted to cut him from the stake. However, a part of the stake remained in the Rishi's body, and thus he came to be known as Ani Mandavya. Ani as in nail. With that, Rishi Mandavya had performed the severest of penances or tapas and attained highest regions of heaven. After his death, Rishi Mandavya came to Dharma or Yamaraja, the king of justice, and asked him the reason for his deep suffering despite being blameless. To this, Dharmaraja or Yamaraja replied, "O Rishi Mandavya, in your childhood you had pierced an insect with a blade of grass. This is the reason why you had to suffer." The Rishi became angry at this and said, "O Dharmaraja, it is common sense and knowledge that a sin committed in childhood is no sin at all, and any sin committed before the age of 14 should not be considered as a sin because the sense of virtue and vice do not fully develop in a child." Rishi Mandavya then cursed King Dharma, "May you be born as a mortal on the earth and suffer from all trials and tribulations to which a mortal is subjected." And for that curse, Dharma was born on earth as Vidura, the uncle of the Pandavas and Kauravas, the son of Rishi Vyasa, and Parishrami, the maidservant of Queen Ambika. This is the story of Devavrata or Bhishma, who was the son of the Kuru king Shantanu and goddess Ganga. Once, while King Shantanu was taking a stroll on the banks of river Ganga, he happened to see a beautiful lady, and at once he fell in love with her. Immediately, he inquired if she'd marry him. To this, the lady asked him if he wanted to know who she was. King Shantanu then said, "I don't want to know who you are. Whoever you might be, I would just take you as my queen." The lady agreed to marry King Shantanu, but she laid down some conditions. Number 1, that she should not be asked about her identity. 2, that she must not be stopped from doing whatever she wishes to do. Shantanu, who was head over heels in love with the lady, agreed to all the conditions without giving it a thought, and at once took her as his wife. Both Shantanu and the beautiful lady lived happily for many years. The beautiful lady gave birth to many children, but then, as soon as each child was born, she would take it and flow it into the Ganges or the river Ganga. 7 children were thus killed quite mercilessly by the beautiful lady. Poor King Shantanu was bound by the promise he had made to his wife and controlled himself time and again, of course, with a great difficulty. He often wondered how could a mother be so cruel when she was perfectly normal as a wife, very charming and very considerate. How could she kill her own children? When the 8th child was born, King Shantanu decided to put an end to this murder of the innocents and came to his wife and yelled, "O brutal beauty, enough of your massacre. The foolish promise made by me restrained me all these days. No more can I allow you to murder my children. Moreover, I would like to ask you a question. Are you human at all?" The lady, kissing the little child in her arms, replied with a smile, "True, I am not a human, but I am neither a devil incarnate. Know me to be the goddess Ganga, adored by heavenly beings as well as humans. I had to accept this apparently cruel mission on compassionate grounds." The bewildered king was eager to know the whole story. Goddess Ganga continued. One day, the 8 Vasus, the divine noble men of heaven, came down to earth with their wives. This is when they saw Nandini, the cow of the great sage Vasishtha, grazing on the grounds near their ashrama along with its calf. It was really a sight for the angels to see. All the ladies of the picnic party praised the cow and the calf, but one of the ladies wanted to possess them. Her husband, however, said that the immortals needed not the milk of Nandini, as they had Amrita to drink, and he asked his wife to change her mind. But the lady was persistent in her demand. Thus, all the 8 Vasus quietly stole the cow and the calf from Vasishta's ashrama and made their way back home. When sage Vasishta returned to the ashrama, he did not find Nandini and the calf. Having come to know of the high-ended behavior of the Vasus, who puffed up their divine authority, Vasishta cursed that they should all be born as mortals on earth. The Vasus, on learning of the curse, came running to Rishi, repented and apologized to him with a request for pardon. The sage said that he could excuse all with the exception of Prabhasa, who had taken the initiative of the theft. And he modified the curse to the extent that the remaining 7 could come back to heaven as soon as they were born on earth, but Prabhasa would live a long life, of course in great glory on earth, before he returned to heaven. King Shantanu continued Goddess Ganga. This is not a mere child. He is the veritable incarnation of Vasuprabhasa. He is destined to great glory and will be the worthy son of a worthy father. In fact, in breaking your promise, you have saved me from this mundane presence. And now, I must depart. Of course, I am taking the child with me as a mother's duty, only to be returned to you in due time. But remember, I have performed an unpleasant forced duty upon me by a conspiracy of circumstances, and I am not a devil. Saying so, Goddess Ganga vanished. That little child was named Devavrata. He learned the Vedas from Maharshi Vasishtha, archery and warfare from Shukracharya, and he was an expert at using the bow and arrow. This Devavrata was later called Bhishma, and he was the Pitamaha or the grandfather of the Kauravas and Pandavas. That is the story of the birth of Bhishma Pitamaha, as he is popularly called.